I feel like so many climbers would be like, I can't believe Jonathan has imposter syndrome when he's like the fourth best climber in the world or whatever sort of ranking, undeniably one of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of it comes down to the community you're in too. And, like if you're in a community where the hardest person or the person, that climbs the hardest is 12A and everyone else climbs 510, then you're like, I'm the best climber.
This is Climbing Gold.
Yeah, it's like Kruger, one of the creators of it, has this like awesome quote, and it's
something to the effect that if you're a Gumby, you think you're the man. Because
Yeah.
we certainly all see that at the
Did he
crash.
say
No.
no more confident than a bro that just climbed his first 512? Yeah.
yeah, that was it. Yeah,
No. Exactly.
So true. No, it's the first rule of Dunning Kruger Club is you don't know you're a member of Dunning Kruger Club.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Not knowing the scope of your own ignorance is part of the human condition. The problem with it is that we see it in other people, but we don't see it in ourselves. And
Yeah, totally.
the interesting side of the Dunning-Kruger is like when they first identified it, and they did it, through academic research, and they, wrote many papers about it. But they also saw the inverse, is that highly competent people are often they're much more likely to say they aren't good at something. They're much more likely to be like, oh, I'm actually not that good.
Where you really see that is at the ping pong table. Because I've discovered that if you ask somebody if they're any good at ping pong, and they're like,
so true.
I've played. If someone's just casually like, oh, I've played a couple times, you're like, oh, that person's really good. But if someone's like, yeah, I love ping pong, let's go, then you're like, they're probably kind of medium.
Yeah.
It's like
I feel exposed.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Your skills have increased recently, Jonathan.
Yes. And I know that I'm the boss of ping pong. Trust me.
Exactly. And we've had a few very competitive members on the ping pong table at the house in the last couple of days, and it's interesting because one was a mild-mannered, middle-aged British man who's just like, "Oh, I play," and I was like, okay." And then I was like, "Oh my God, he plays really, really well." You're like, okay, like that's. Yeah, it's just interesting how people evaluate their own skill set.
But there's something to like, you need to even know what it's like to be like for Jonathan to explain that like the difference between him and Megos is like so much bigger than like your average climber would probably understand. Like I was having dinner with friends last week, and one of them was saying to the other, like, oh, but you're such a good skier. And she's like, you only think I'm a good skier because I'm one of the best skiers, but like I just got back from Chamonix and I can tell you that I'm not a good skier. But like you need to like reach that upper level to even see like how good is good, and that like, and I think in climbing it's interesting because there's like you're having this feeling in that upper echelon, whereas I feel like so many climbers would be like, I can't believe Jonathan has imposter syndrome when he's like the fourth best climber in the world or whatever sort of ranking, undeniably one of the best. Like it's hard to understand from not being in that kind of elite community how you could reach that level and then still feel that way. And I think part of it is that you've seen like the people that you actually consider to be the best, like doing what they do. And you're like, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of it comes down to the community you're in too. And, like if you're in a community where the hardest person or the person, that climbs the hardest is 12A and everyone else climbs 510, then you're like, I'm the best climber. I'm a great climber, But if you're in a community where all of your friends are professional rock climbers and they all climb 515 and you climb 513, then you feel like you suck. So I think some
Are you
of
speaking from personal experience?
Yeah. Are you talking about yourself, Lisa?
Yeah. So I think there is something to do with that too,
But wasn't it on one of our last podcasts where I said that Lisa, you're closer to Jonathan's level of climbing than to the average intermediate climber at this point? Because you're climbing 13 plus, it's only 5-6 grades away from from Jstar, and that's well above 5'11", 5'12". You're
but it's
up in
not.
there.
I mean, it's closer to 5'12" than it is to 5'15". I don't know. Jonathan warms up on my projects.